Hello, hello. Oh, there is a little bit of an echo. We'll figure it out. Hello, LinkedIn and Facebook. And because we're live, things happen. So I thought I clicked start broadcast, but what I clicked was the video that I put on in the beginning. So who knows what played, but here we are. And there could be an echo, Jeanette. One idea might be if you have LinkedIn open, don't have this open, this conversation open.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, hello. In case you don't know me, I'm Beth Granger. I'm a trainer, consultant, and speaker on the topic of unleashing the power of LinkedIn and networking. And I love to come live here and introduce you to people that I know, because I know really cool people, and have conversations about really important or interesting topics. My guest today, and I'm going to read so I don't make a mistake, is Jeanette Bronee. She is a culture strategist and a most wanted keynote speaker on rethinking self-care at work and its impact on peak performance and workplace culture. And especially with the past 2 years, we need to hear about this, all of these things. Welcome, Jeanette. Oh,
Thank
and
you.
before you say anything, a little housekeeping for those of you joining us. We're doing a little bit of an experiment. Some of you know that I have access to a new feature called LinkedIn Audio. So after we have this conversation here, we'll share the link and we're going to jump on over to LinkedIn Audio so that you can ask Jeanette your questions yourself and be part of the conversation. Welcome and welcome, Anric. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for being here. Forrest, great to see you. Jeanette, how are you?
I am very good, thank you. And new to this, so
I love it, but not new to speaking and sharing your ideas. So it's fabulous. Thank you for being here. So, you know, I've known you through National Speakers Association and know kind of what you talk about and your area of expertise, but self-care to me is kind of a tricky topic because, and hello, LinkedIn user from Chicago, it's not giving me your name. It's a tricky topic to me because people say, hey, you need to practice self-care, but I don't know if they know what that means. So I had a period in my life where there was some stress and people said to me, hey, you need to practice self-care. And I said, yes, literally, what do you mean? Can you tell us when you talk about self-care, what you mean?
Yeah. I think it's part of the confusion, right? And it's part of why it's not happening is because we think of self-care as something we do in our own time. We think of it as something we do to relax, or we think of it as something that we do to have downtime. And it is. However, I think of self-care as a mindset and a relationship we have with ourselves all the time. So are we self-caring? And it's more of an attitude than a habit. And so a lot of times what I see is how people think of self-care also, because we see all these things where people are selling products. They're selling bath soaps and wonderful candles and things like that. And they call it self-care. And it's like, yes, it is. I call it self-treat, self-pampering. Like, I think it's all good. The point is it doesn't help us at work and it doesn't help us manage stress. It helps us recover when we're stressed. It helps us take time out. However, what we really need instead is how do we navigate our day better? How do we self-care throughout the day? And I think of that, as I mentioned before, as a mindset, as an attitude. And part of that is I actually think of it as four steps or 4 questions we can ask ourselves. So just checking in, taking a small pause. I call it power pausing, and we can go into that a little bit deeper if you want to. Just really checking in and being like, hey, how am I in there right now? And notice how where are we at? Where's our mind at? Where's our mindset at? And then asking, what do I need so that I can be present right now, for example? And so one of the things that happens is that we don't set ourselves up to succeed throughout the day. We're sort of using up our resources, which is our energy, our focus, our attention, our empathy, all of those things. We use it up all day long instead of checking in throughout the day and really saying, okay, I need to really be present right now. What do I need so that I can feel that? Like, where's my mind at? Am I in that sort of survival mode stage, or am I able to let go of whatever it was that was just happening? And or do I need a little moment to process it before I go into my next meeting? All of those small bitsy tiny moment where we have the opportunity to just pause for a moment and check in, so that we don't exhaust ourselves all day long.
So tell me a little bit more about that part of it. So, and first of all, also, hey, Carl, Danielle, Tim, thanks for being here. This power pause, I think you called it.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Power pause. Yeah.
Power pause.
Yeah.
I love that idea, because the other day I kind of didn't take any breaks throughout the day. I just went, and I was exhausted by dinner time.
Yeah.
When I take time to, whatever it may be, I was telling somebody earlier, fold the laundry, whatever. But so when you pause and you check in with yourself, I guess the question is, then what? How do you, if you find you're not present, you're distracted or whatever's going on, how do you do something to come back to that present?
Yeah. So it could be, so if you've been working on the same thing for too long, there's a good chance that you're sort of getting stuck. There's energetically getting stuck. So it could be that you just need to get up and stretch and walk about for, a couple of minutes. It may need that you need to go get some water. It may need that you just need to call someone and just be like, whew, I just needed to exhale and hear somebody else's voice and, whatever it is that we're working on, right? Like a lot of times when we're working on something that takes a lot of mental energy, we need to just disconnect for a moment, right? And other times it may be that if, for example, we've just gone through a difficult meeting, it may be that we can't just jump straight into the next meeting, for example, but we need that little bit of space to just digest what was said or process how we feel about it. Could be that we need a walk for that. It could be that we just need to push a meeting for 5 minutes. Could be that we need to call someone and say, am I completely off here? Or did that seem a little, I don't know, aggressive, for example, if you feel that you were attacked, like just so that we are allowing ourselves to actually have emotions instead of just biting down and keep going, because that is so mentally exhausting. And this idea of becoming whole humans is really about being more fluid and being like, okay, this is how I feel right now. And what do I need so that I can do it? Maybe I feel just tired. And then we can ask, what do I need so I can get more energy? Because we tend to try to fix the problem after it happens or once it's drawn out. We see the same thing with people getting ill, right? We don't think of preventive health. We think of it as fixing ourselves when we're sick. And it's the same thing with self-care. Like, what does my energy need preventively today? What does my focus need preventively today? Like, what are these things that I need so that I can be at my best over and over and over? Because it's not one thing and then done. It's something that we have to keep checking in all throughout the day. And I think that's where the mental disconnect is, that we think that we're sort of like, that we don't have needs throughout the day because we can just work. It's like, no, we're not robots for a reason.
Right. I love that, because that's exactly what I was thinking about. We're not robots.
Yeah. And that's a good thing because, let's face it, robots are trying to figure out how to be more like us and sort of like cultivate human connection, be more empathetic, to care more, like they're trying to learn what that looks like. We already know how to do that. So why don't we just harness that instead of thinking that we are, our value might have been on speed, like not the drug, of course, but our value might have been the faster we work and the harder we work, but it isn't anymore. Like the way work is changing is that it's really the human connection that drives performance and success in a company. And for us to harness that, those small power pauses throughout the day is how we can just stop and be like, okay, I'm like out here. My mind is over there. What do I need so that I can? And then also asking for it and dare to speak up and
Mm.
say, hey, I just need a pause. I just need a moment. Yeah. And you can start a meeting that way. There's so many ways that you can pause or just power pause, as I call it, because it's really a place not to go and relax, but to bring our energy back.
I love that. In fact, it's kind of what I like to do before I start a live broadcast with somebody. So behind the scenes, folks, I told Jeanette what my intention was for this broadcast and this event. And sometimes I didn't do it today, but sometimes I will sort of take a couple deep breaths with my guest as well. So I love that idea.
Yeah.
Um, so something you talk about that I want to understand more about is you describe a well-being culture.
Mm,
And I assume that's for an organization. What do
yeah.
you mean by that? Tell
Yeah.
us more.
Yeah. So one of the things that it's a big conversation right now, right? There with mental health and the conditions that have sort of become apparent during COVID, because it's not like they appeared because of COVID. They became apparent because of COVID, right? Burnout was before COVID, mental health being stretched to its utmost was before COVID. All of that happened before COVID. Just COVID pushed it a little bit more, and it brought it into the light so that we can talk about it. And that's a great thing. Okay. So I think it's important that we acknowledge that we're now actually having an opportunity to really look at how we work with fresh eyes and really co-create a healthy culture together. And so a lot of things, what happens when we look at, okay, this is happening to our people as an organization or a leader, and people are saying, okay, how can I take better care of my people? And that's great. I think people need to have access to well-being programs that help them get the tools and all of those things that they need so it can navigate stress and anxiety and things like that. This is the thing, however, a well-being culture isn't about having a well-being program. A well-being culture is about cultivating healthy human relationships, because that is what stresses us out. And
Mm.
so if we can change the conversation to really look at what does it look like to facilitate good, healthy, constructive, creative, curious conversations in an organization or in a team between a leader and their people? How do we change the way we have these conversations? Not just the difficult ones, but just day-to-day ones, because that is what really strains us the most. We don't burn out from working too much. We burn out from worrying too much
Ah,
and not feeling supported and not feeling like somebody's got our back. And we can change that.
I love that. I love that. That line. Somebody put that in the chat so I can share it. Or maybe I can. But the that we don't burn out from working too much, we burn out from worrying too much. That is so great.
Yeah.
And do you think that it's um, changed during the past 2 years? Are people seeing it differently? When they're trying to, there's so much more stress
Yeah.
um, with people working from home, and how do they deal with childcare?
Yeah.
All the things. Worry about getting sick. Worry about their family.
Yeah.
Anything specific related to that?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we need these well-being tools, which are about conversations, right? So, and we have seen it. We've seen leaders doing a really good job trying to learn how to be like, hey, how you doing? And things like that. The problem is that leaders are burning out too, because they don't know then what to do with the answer. They think it's their problem then to solve it. And what we really need to do is give people back the tools to have agency over their own lives. And again, we do that by asking questions that show that we care about them. Like, hey, okay, what do you need so that you can navigate? Your kid is sick today, and we have these meetings. How can I help? Like, how can we support you in you not feeling stressed out about that? Or maybe just saying, okay, if that's what's worrying you right now, then don't worry about it. It's okay that your kid is part of the meeting. And so it's allowing these conversations to be there, because what I've consistently heard is that leaders don't know how to have conversation beyond, hey, how are you? Right? Because they haven't been taught to work with these continued conversations that help people reclaim agency. Leaders always have this idea that they have to have the answer. They have to help people. They have to tell people what to do. They have to fix people, whatever it is. It's part of who we are as human beings as well, right?
I
Like
love that.
we all do it, right? A friend comes and says, I'm having a hard time. And then you're like, oh, but you'll be fine. You got this. You got this. You're strong. And it's like, okay, I just didn't feel heard right now. Instead of just saying, okay, tell me more. Like
Yeah.
allow the person to just talk out, and most of the time a person will say, oh, that felt good to share it. Thank you. And then you can
Yeah.
always ask, so what do you need so that you can feel a little bit stronger through this? And now we shift our perspective. And that's part of the self-care mindset, is to focus on what we want rather than getting stuck in this pothole of what we don't want, what we want to try to avoid. And so when we're working under stress, we focus on what's not working and we get really stuck there. And that's why these conversations that we can have with each other as teammates, as family members, as friends, as leaders in a conversation, as a culture, we can help people move forward and reclaim that agency. And so one of the other things that burn us out is feeling like we don't have agency, feeling that we can't speak up and say, I need help, right? Or I don't know how to solve this. Can you ask me some questions that help me get on the right path here? That kind of trust, wouldn't that be amazing? And I'm not saying we don't have it. I'm not saying there's leaders that do that. Of course there is. But a lot of people think they have to solve the problem themselves.
It's funny because I've had my own business for 12 years, but before that, I worked for corporations.
Yeah.
And, I think many corporations have come a long way since then, of course, but there are still people within organizations who aren't open to that and think they have to have the answers and think that somebody is weak or not a good team player if they have challenges that they share or things like that. So, and I think the companies that aren't like that, so the companies that really care and show they care, are going to get better people and have them stay in a way that other companies won't.
Yep. It's kind of natural, right? Because when we care about people, not for them, but about them, we're more curious. And we're more engaged in how they solve a problem. And we can borrow from Brene Brown and talk about how vulnerability is really about strength and courage, right? It's about being brave. And so we have to shift the way we talk about these things as if, oh, if somebody needs to self-care, meaning speak up about what they need so that they can move forward. That's what self-care is. I'm speaking up right now about what I need so that I can go get the job done, do my good work, do my best work, be at my best self. And self-care is to speak to your leader or speak to a team or speak to a family member and say, this is what I need. Is that okay with you?
Wow. Yeah, a totally different way of looking at it than many people think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. All right. So here's the thing, folks. In a minute or two, we're going to jump over to LinkedIn audio and you can ask Jeanette your questions. And Anric, thank you so much for putting the link in the chat, and I'm putting it up on the screen. I will also put up, so that's the direct link. It's long, so if you're not seeing it in the chat, I made a short link. Let's see if I can find it. I always forget about banners. So a short link, so if you have to type it in. There it is. So bethgranger.live/Jen. Oh, and I put the wrong one. Not that one, folks. Not that one. This is what happens when you're live. Where's my one? I don't see it in here. So I'm going to make it right now as we speak. Ready? It's live. That's what happens. Must have deleted the new one and not the.
So part of you being self-caring is giving yourself permission to not have it perfect.
Yeah, I have to say that ever since I started going live, it's over 2 years ago now, I never worried about it, and which is not like me.
Right.
So it makes it so much fun if you're not worried about, okay,
Exactly.
something goes wrong, a fire engine goes by, I was telling Jeanette I had a guest who was in the IT space, and he kept losing his connection and coming back in, which was hysterical. So let's have one more question or one more thing to say, and then we are going to jump over to audio, which will be so much fun. And thank you, Enric, for sharing that link once again. The community of people, beta testers, and people exploring audio are very helpful, and I appreciate it.
Good.
So, what one thing do you want people to know? Like, if they take away one thought or one idea, what would you like them to know today?
I want them to know that being human is an awesome experience. Like, how amazing is it to be human? And so if we can please stop looking at ourselves as a problem to solve, but rather a possibility to harness, can we look for how to do that? That's the most self-caring we can be.
I love that. I'm going to have you say that again on audio. So everyone, it'll take us a minute because we have to get out of StreamYard, which we used to go live, and go over to the other event. It's a little quirky, but so head on over to that link, and Jeanette and I will head on over to that link, and we'll continue the conversation. Bye-bye, everyone. See you in a second.
See you soon.